Hi, I'm Jon Metzger. I serve on the pedagogy committee of the Vibraphone Project, a large group of vibists and composers celebrating the recent 100th anniversary of the vibraphone. I want to thank my committee chairman, Jerry Tashwa, for asking me to give a clinic today. So let's get to it. This clinic today is about listening. Its primary focus is on jazz and improvisation vocabulary, although its intent can easily be applied to any genre. The clinic will be divided into 4 scenarios or types of listening that you may already find yourself enjoying and benefiting from. Live concerts, recordings, recording yourself all the time, and completing your own transcriptions of improvised solos. First, there is the magic of live performance. It epitomizes the sheer joy of music for music's sake and offers incredible inspiration. I hope we'll never get too far removed from this basic premise and that you'll attend as many live performances as possible. From there, and in addition, if you're fortunate enough to have a mentor or teacher in your home community who you can follow and observe live, check them out as well. For these performances, and in addition, notice how the players carry and present themselves, their stage presence, their programming, their interaction with the other musicians, and how they relate to the audience. One big advantage of knowing your mentor or teacher is that you can ask them questions after the concert, especially to support your listening. What words might you use to describe their playing, their sound, their tone, their technique, their groove, their swing, their treatment of written melodies, their embellishments or personalization of written melodies? How would you describe their improvisations, including their early solo energy and their peak solo energy? Did you notice any surprises from them or from their rhythm section? Describing music like this is hard to do because music is sounds and descriptions like these use words, two very different things. You may want to organize your thoughts in a personal notebook or journal, and you may want to listen to other lovers of music speak about music for benefiting from and even borrowing their descriptive adjectives and their active verbs. The same will be true when you read your favorite writers. Above all, these observations will contribute immensely to your overall musical development as you internalize them, practice them, and come to own them. Listening to recordings. The work has already been done for you through numerous lists of whom to listen to. These lists include the 100 most historically significant jazz recordings, the Smithsonian collection of classic jazz, and many other various permutations. Your big band, small group, and jazz history teachers, as well as your improvisation and private lesson teachers, may have still more lists for you to check out. So be sure to ask them if they haven't already told you. As vibes players, we're naturally drawn to listening to recordings of other vibes players, of course. But please keep in mind that we learn from all other musicians, including horn players of all kinds, pianists, guitarists, bassists, drummers, violinists, and vocalists. Listening to the latter, vocalist, is especially important for developing our own lyricism at the vibes and for telling the story of a tune. And hearing the lyrics of a tune may influence your performance of the tune. Even when listening to Vibus recordings, you'll simultaneously be hearing numerous horn players, pianists, guitarists, bassists, violinists, drummers, and singers. Track your favorite, most inspiring and resonating musicians, and allow one recording to organically lead you to the next. A word or two about the kind of listening I'm talking about is in order here. In a perfect world, you'll be in a room with the best stereo possible, a headset, your notebook, and your instrument. I'm not talking about having the music play in one room while you're hanging out with friends in another separate room. Rather, you'll be listening intently with complete focus and no distractions. Don't worry, you'll have a blast and a lot of fun, even without a bunch of your friends in the room. Also, for your initial listening of a recording new to you, listen to it in its entirety, all the way through. I realize this practice is far from common now. You'll have plenty of time later for revisiting specific tracks and or special key moments for studying and even transcribing. For example, in my method book, The Art and Language of Jazz Vibes, all recordings in the discography are matched to specific tunes to know. The idea here is that you'll have the opportunity to listen to and be inspired by outstanding vibists performing the same repertoire you're working on. The second edition of the method book contains 19 new pages of additional discography matched to the same tunes. So if your big band or combo teacher gives you a solo on a particular tune, you'll naturally want to study through listening what other vibrists or other musicians have to say when presented with the same challenge and opportunity. Of course, they had many answers in place before going to the recording studio. You can listen for the overall form of a tune, how the written melody of a given tune was treated, and what kinds of improvisation techniques were employed, vertical or horizontal, inside or outside the chords. You can listen for patterns or sequences from the soloist, how the group interacted with each other through their group conversation, and how specific chord progressions, such as 2-5-1 and turnbacks, were navigated, among much, much more. See if you can focus your listening on each individual member of the group. Is the drummer playing with sticks or brushes? Does he change? When? Is the bass player in 2 or 4? Does he change? When? Can you sing the root he plays on count 1? How is the piano player comping? Sparsely or very actively? It's okay for you to emulate and reference what you hear from the pros on their recordings in your own performances, especially as you develop your own voice. Returning to the suggestion of listening to the entire recording, this means you'll likely also have the original package of the recording, including its artwork and, even more important, its liner notes. Read all of these notes for even more insight on the musicians you're listening to and the music they play. These notes will also give you even more specific targets for what to listen for. Most good school libraries will have important jazz recordings in their holdings, including huge, expensive collections like All Charlie Parker on Verve or complete Billie Holiday sessions, among many more. So if you're enrolled in such a program, please take advantage of its library. You'd be crazy not to. Alternately, you can purchase the recordings for your own personal library. Speaking for myself, early on, I mowed a lot of lawns so I could buy a lot of recordings. And you too will greatly appreciate it when others purchase the recordings you will make in the future. And returning to the idea of revisiting specific tracks and or special key moments in recordings later, it always fascinated me what a second or third or fourth listening revealed to me that I didn't hear the first time. This was especially true after I had absorbed new melodic or harmonic vocabulary or improvisation techniques in my mind's ear and under my hands. So when listening again, I might have said, "Oh, now I hear what's going on." For adding to the valuable takeaways you'll have for each recording you'll hear, you may want to mark down in your notebook your thoughts on what aspects of hearing the recording made you a better player. It may be one phrasing idea, or one rhythmic concept, or one response to a particular chord progression. Above all else, the above practices and habits will confirm that you can always confidently answer the question, who are you listening to? Recording yourself all the time. As your critical listening routines continue taking shape and you're developing solid points of reference for your excellent jazz playing, it's time to add the habit of recording yourself all the time for identifying and gauging your progress. These recordings do not have to be recording studio quality. Be sure to check with your private teacher and your ensemble teachers for their okay for recording yourself during lessons and rehearsals. Some may not want you to do this. For my teaching, I loved it because it showed me how dedicated my students were to making progress in their practice sessions, ensemble rehearsals, private lessons, and performances, and for staying organized. Like writing words about music, hearing recordings of yourself can also be very difficult and challenging, especially in the beginning. For example, remember the first time you heard a recording of your own spoken voice. The cliche, typical response for most of us includes, "Ew, is that what I sound like?" We're often critical of ourselves. Now imagine scrutinizing recordings of your own music making. Even if it's painful at first, hang in there. It will get better. For me, early on, I was very fortunate to have gigs 5 or 6 nights every week. Most of these gigs were about a 45-minute drive away from my apartment at the time. I would record everything I was on then and would have enough time to listen to at least the first set on the ride home. I learned a lot through this process because the recordings didn't lie. They taught me a lot. For example, I might have noticed on the playback things like, you're not swinging there, or your phrasing ended square there. Your melodic line wasn't clear there because you overused the pedal. Ooh, careful with your sound there. You don't have anything to say when improvising on that chord progression there. Heck, do you even know what the chords are there? Had it not been for the convincing proofs in the recordings, I might not have known about these issues or others, and I might have disregarded them. Again, the recordings didn't lie. All of what I discovered through the playbacks above also fueled the fire for what I would work on in the practice room the next day. Addressing these issues right away helped keep things positive. I set conscious goals not to have the issues surface again. Granted, this took time and practice, but through recognizing and addressing the issues right away, I was able to reach my goals. In the end, my ultimate goal, albeit lofty, was that everything I heard on these self-recordings made me smile. You can do the same. Transcriptions. When listening to recordings of master vibists, you no doubt have come across certain parts, either an isolated lick or phrase, a 12-bar or 32-bar improvised chorus, or an entire solo that stopped you in your tracks. Wow, that was super. I want to be able to play that, you might have said. You might also have heard a tune, fallen in love with it, and discovered the song was not available in any fake book. Or you may have heard a tune you knew that was played differently, perhaps with unusual yet interesting harmonies. It's time to take pencil and manuscript paper in hand and write down what you have heard. The benefits of transcribing music are so enormous, both to the development of your listening chops and the further understanding and enjoyment of improvisation, that you must not overlook the necessity of doing it. Most important of all is that what you learn in this fashion will stick with you. Unlike the material I might have temporarily absorbed from method books and fake books and forgotten, I've never forgotten the riffs and songs I've learned by way of my own transcription. The very act of writing reinforces the memory of it. Plan to set aside time each week for transcribing. And don't hesitate to transcribe your own solos for confirming your own accuracy and progress. In addition to satisfying immediate answers, transcriptions provide ongoing sources for new inspiration and practice. You may already have dozens of answers under your hands for what to play when improvising. These answers relate directly to specific challenges that regularly occur, including what to play on tonic chords, 5-1, 2-5-1, and longer progressions. These same challenges face the master improvisers you listen to on recordings. Again, the pros had lots of answers in place long before they reached the recording studio. You can learn volumes from their statements. Ask yourselves, what did they play when the first chord was C major 7? How did they approach 2-5-1 in B flat major? What did they choose to do on a given turnaround? Did they play the same thing at the same place in the song every time, or opt for a more interesting variety? What rhythms did they use? On what beat did they end a phrase? How did they embellish the melody of the song? What ranges of the instrument did they use? It's fascinating to finish a short transcription, then play it yourself and see and hear all of the pros' answers to the above questions and many others. You're now seeing what they saw, and for a brief moment, you feel as if you're in their shoes. When transcribing, start simply and set reasonable goals. First-time transcribers may discover that the task can be very slow, even one note at a time. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Ask questions continuously as you work to write down what you hear. And you can act like a super sleuth as you put together the pieces of the mystery, including the specific pitches and rhythms. In the beginning, pick a phrase or solo from a song you already know or have a lead sheet for. Your pre-knowledge of the tune's chords will help you determine exact pitches to write down and do much to eliminate wrong notes. Listen to the solo repeatedly to the point you can sing along with it. That will also help you a lot. Numerous software programs exist for assisting you with your transcription, such as the Amazing Slowdowner. Also, a chapter of my method book is devoted to its practice. It includes how to set up your page, how to decipher rhythms and subdivisions of the beat, and a Mill Jackson transcription from my own notebook. When sitting down to work on your transcriptions, set a reasonable goal, such as completing between 4 or 8 bars per 1 hour session. Your ears may be toast by then anyway. You can come back to your transcription later with fresh ears. Once you've completed a transcription, extract as much as you can from it for benefit in your own playing. Play your favorite sounds over and over, attempting to duplicate and vary them when improvising. You can practice this that you extract from the transcriptions. These can become your practice exercises. Personal taste will dictate both the specific bits and pieces that are chosen to be taken from transcriptions and how these extractions can be digested. There is no denying that the benefits can be numerous and colossal. Again, the work has already been done for you in dozens of books of transcriptions. These books are strongly recommended for the same kind of applications and studies suggested above. However, these books must not replace your own transcriptions. To do so would deny you much of the personal discovery and joy, albeit through hard work, of learning to improvise.
Hello, my name is Jerry Tashwa. I am the chairman of the Pedagogy Committee for the Vibraphone Project. I first of all want to thank Jon Metzger for his presentation on listening. This is a very important subject. Even though it's not our standard hands-on vibraphone pedagogy clinic, it's very important to understand how to listen, what to listen for, and as you're a musician, this is very important. What is music? Music is sound. Sound needs to be heard. We listen to it and we discern whether it's good or bad. We like it, we don't like it. And it's very important to listen to other musicians so that you can tune in on what other people are doing, and then you can make your opinion on whether you like it or not. Also, as he mentioned, listening to yourself. Record yourself so that you know what you sound like, and maybe it's not working, maybe it is working, so you can make those opinions also. One of my pet peeves, and Jon had mentioned this, is listening to a project in its entirety. As a recording musician, and again, I guess this is an old school thinking, and I'm old school, so when we record an album, we record an entire project with compositions that are similar and have a connection to each other. We record the entire project and we actually sequence this project in such a way that we want to take you through a story as you're listening to our recording from front to back or through a CD in its entirety. So it's real important if you really want to get into the head of the artist to, like he said, put on some good headphones, turn off the lights, and listen to a recording in its entirety. And then you're going to start hearing things that maybe casually you wouldn't have heard before, but by really tuning in on it, it'll open up your ears to some of the subtleties that the musicians are trying to convey. So again, thanks to Jon Metzger for his presentation. I hope you continue tuning into the Vibraphone Project's bi-monthly clinics, and thank you so much for your support. Bye-bye.